Now, in an effort to not throw caution to the wind for once in my life, to keep everything from getting mangled while we're working on this, I put the cans back on the IF transformers because, I'll be honest with you folks, I don't want nothing to happen to these. I'm being way over cautious is what I have to be, basically because it's the first time I've ever messed with anything like that. I made a crude drawing of where everything goes, obviously not the scale of any kind, and then I turned around and took my printout I made off of Nostalgia Air and went through and marked everything down as to what goes where. So the only thing left to do is get in there and get your hands dirty. Wow, boy, this job ain't for the faint of heart. Screwed around this for about a half hour and I finally got that one out. Damn. Worst connection was where two wires and a resistor come down here, and the shit solder that they used back in the 50s, which I heard is about 50-50-10 and whatever else they threw in with it. 40 watts, putting solder on the tip, using flux, blah blah blah. Finally just got tired and just kept heating it and kept an eye on these plastic pieces in this IF can so we didn't melt anything, and voila. I just hope that none of my little wires have come loose on the side here from getting the damn terminals too hot. But what we gotta drill out is that little rivet right there. That's what Retro Chad said you gotta get out of there. So I'm debating whether to do these one at a time, solder them back in, because we have 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 loose connections there. That way we don't get them confused with the one over here in the other stage of IF. So bear with me here, folks. Slow and steady, but we'll get it. And here we are again, one side of the can. Now the only markings I see on these cans is X119-1-26, and underneath of that it says 5769303-1. And Tim had passed along to me that a lot of the silver for these IF transformers were mined over in Pennsylvania. And these were manufactured, these little IF transformers and stuff were manufactured by Ardmore Transformer, a division of National Tube. And Sylvania used these IF cans, and most people, according to Tim, that were manufacturers in the state or close to them, except for Westinghouse or Zenith or Motorola, used these crap transformers in their units, which I'm sure at the time they were more than acceptable and probably did the job, but, well, it's like anything else. A test of time will take its toll on us, won't it? But you can see, and I'll take a picture of this when I post this video, right in between them two plates there's just a bunch of crap right there. I mean, just crud. I don't know how to explain it. You can just see that that stuff's breaking down and it's coming out of there. Very, very weird. Okay, well, let's clamp her up like Chad said and get to drilling. Okay, folks, you ever had one of them situations where you know this just ain't right what you're about to do? There's something that's so delicate that there's really no replacement for unless you take one out of another radio, but it just don't seem natural to get this drill bit anywhere near that little IF cam. But we have to. And what I have done is lightly clamped it into my vice grips. Put a piece of wood for it to bear on the bottom, because remember, there are plastic little studs that stick out the bottom of these. We don't want to break them off or the can won't wind back up on them. And I basically just balanced it in the vise with pieces of wood, snugged it up. I mean, it's not tight, it's not going to bust, but it's not tight. And Chad never said in his video what he actually used for a drill bit, so I'm guessing, I'm starting at 3/16 because 7/32, which is that jobby right there, seems just a little too big. We're going to try the 3/16, so Whew, you're gonna do this as I do it. Let's see how it goes. If I mess it up, you'll be the first ones to know. Yippee. Easy does her. It's going. There it is. Smells like plastic. So, we've removed our piece right there. And as it was spinning around just a little bit, it did take a little bit of plastic with it, but it wasn't nothing major. Here's the bottom of our rivet. I don't know if that's brass or bronze or what the heck they made them out of. It's pretty soft. You don't have to push very hard. Well, let's get it out of here and see what kind of damage we created. Well, as you can see, our little rivet, let me find a pointing device here, folks. Our little rivet right here is loose. This whole bottom's loose right here. Well, let's put the camera down and see exactly what we did do to this thing. Hopefully it's for the better. This is totally amazing how this stuff is just disintegrating. You can see once you pull that cover off, that's what's over the top layer of the silver mica, I guess what you call it. It's dusty. It's breaking down. And there's a little tab right here. Camera's not gonna, I don't have autofocus, so, but there's a little tab right there. We'll have to bend at it. And I think that's the one Chad says you have to trim back and get out of the way. And then we'll see if this upper sheet of mica will pull out. And you got to be really, really careful sliding these out, because these little tiny microscopic leads that are right here, I mean, they are fragile. As you're wiggling that out, you see them move, and you're just holding your breath the whole time. It's like, oh, geez. So once we get this out, what he said to do is re-ohm everything, make sure our transformers still check accordingly. We didn't knock nothing loose. Put the cam back on them and put them back in their home. Let's see how good that goes. Now that we got our IF transformer drilled out and taken apart, it's resting comfortably back there, it's chilling out. But here's what's inside of them, and you can see it looks like it's got real bad water stain. It's breaking down to the point that there's just nothing. You can see it flaking off on my finger, tip of my finger, something shiny right there. That's that silver. It's off of that, off of the sheet there. So my next question is, on the IF can that has 4 connections, which is this one down here, that's kind of a no-brainer. Okay, I kind of understand how the cap goes back into that one once the sheets are removed and a new capacitor's put in, of course. Yeah. Anyway, I never thought, but forget it. What I did was make a cheesy drawing here of what this transformer looks like inside there. You can see that there's some little fingers sticking up. That's what was between and on top of and beneath the mica sheets. Well, my question is, if we're going to put, I'm assuming that this thing will take a 100 picofarad on one side for the lower tuning coil and 100 picofarad on the top side for the upper tuning coil. And you know, they'll attach accordingly. I understand that if you had 4 terminals. This one right here, we have 5 terminals. There's 2 on one side and 3 on the other, which I had in those pictures. You could clearly see that. You could see the 3 on that side and there's just 2 on the other. Where do you attach the new 100 picofarad capacitors at? You know, do you just run them in line with the small wires that go to the lower and the upper? This is kind of wild how I got this drawn. You know, you got your one contact, the second one's behind it, so that's the dotted line. Same thing over here. You got your 4th contact, the 5th is a dotted line because it's behind it, and the 3rd is the one that offsets. Well, the 3rd one sticks up in the middle, which this is kind of a drawing from the top looking down. It has a bit of an angle in there, and it trapped the bottom sheet of mica laid on top of this, and the next tab folded down, this tab folded down, the next sheet went in, that tab folded down, and then you had the top one, which was clear right here. It doesn't have no mica, or if it did, it's completely gone. Insane. Where do you attach the new capacitors to is what I'm curious about. Other than that, you know, according to what Chad said on his video, once we snip these little leads off that stick up here on this transformer, we put a little dab of super glue on the corner to hold these wires down so they don't come loose, and put it back together and put it in here and solder her up. I just need to know where to put those capacitors at. Another thing I wanted to pass along, on these IF transformers, there's a dot in one corner. This one that I took apart has a white dot. This other one that's still in here, I doubt you'll be able to see it down in there, but there's a green dot right there. Make sure you put the dot back where it belongs when you reassemble this thing. Don't put it in there ass backwards. I don't think it'll work very well if you do that. You're going to have an extra terminal on one side where you don't want it. You have to disassemble the whole thing, turn it around, yada yada yada. Just take good notes and do it right the first time is all I can say. And be very, very careful with the drilling. You don't have to push, when you went over here and drill, you don't have to push very hard. Make sure you have a nice sharp bit. And as you get down to where it's about to break through, just give it a little bit of a wobble side to side, and it'll pop that right off of there. But just be really careful in clamping it, and your vice grips, which this style vice grip worked really well for doing that. And then just clamp it into a vice or hold it on a piece of wood or whatever you want to use to drill them out. And we're going to go ahead and upload this video as number 7. I know I've released 2 in the same day, but instead of having one massive boring video that's going to run 30 minutes or whatever, I don't want people to get bored with what I'm doing here, because it is kind of boring. You know, I'm learning as I go, so I don't describe stuff the best way at times, and I'm jotting stuff down on paper, and then I got a whole stack of papers here that I've made copies of copies of copies, and blown up parts of the drawings, and emails between me and a few other people on YouTube and the Antique Radio Forum and such. And just keep whatever you have note-wise close by. You know, if you're a newbie like me, it always helps to take notes, or watch your videos. It sounds kind of silly to watch your videos prior to posting a new video, so you can kind of refresh yourself. And don't do them too tired, because if you're like me, I get a little long-winded and start talking some gibberish and stuff that don't make much sense. So I think that'll be it for now. I'll let everybody digest part 6 and 7, and comments are welcome. And I don't think I forgot anything. If I did, leave the comment below the video. Until next time, thanks for watching, and we'll see you later.